So today's topic, right? What are we talking about? We are talking everything funding, right? 2026. Like I said before, this is the future. It's also the future of lending. So welcome, strap in. We got some great content for you guys. I'm excited to be back on and doing these webinars again for this year. But I promise you, you got a lot of great content. So if you can, drop your questions into the Q&A section. Like I said, I'll be doing a live Q&A in just a bit here. But I'm definitely excited to be on with you guys. If you missed it, I'm Tony Semino, our VP of Business Development. And for over 10 years, I've done nothing but build partnerships within this industry. And it's really been an awesome ride. I can't say enough about it. We have over 25,000 active affiliates for ROK Financial. So I'm humbled by this webinar and getting a chance to talk to 100 plus of you at the same time. But just kind of everything that goes into all the work we've done for the last 10 years. So definitely excited to be on with you. Hopefully you pull some information from this, and I look forward to getting a chance to chat a little bit more directly. Feel free to give me a shout or shoot me an email. My contact info is right here on this slide. Just so you guys all know, I always make sure to mention this, but we will be sharing this content. So you will get a copy of the presentation as well as the webinar. So don't worry about any of that stuff. Some of the outlook, right? I think we should probably paint the picture first of, what is different. What is this climate that we're currently in? What's interesting about commercial finance, what's interesting about getting money into the hands of business owners is you're aiming for a moving target, if I'm being honest, right? The reality is our industry is dependent on major economic factors. Our industry is based on the performance of individual industries, right? So, for example, a transportation company is viewed differently than a doctor's office, right? That's just a small example, but geography is a major difference, right? Like all of these little factors make a difference, right? The thing that I would tell you is most different, the thing that I would say you got to really pay attention to is we are in the age of information. This is the data age. And why I point that fact out is you got to remember when you're dealing with risk, right? Because that's what lenders and banks are really looking at. They have a certain palette for a certain amount of risk, and you need to fall somewhere within their parameters for them to want to extend capital to you, right? And this goes for any business that's out there, anybody who's helping business owners. When it comes to getting access to capital, it's not any one detail that matters more than another. In fact, it's really the sum of all the details that matter. And that is what they're using more than ever to really make smart credit decisions, if I'm being honest. So think about that. It's not any one detail. We see a lot of times people will reach out and they'll ask, hey, if I have poor credit, is that gonna hurt me when I apply for financing? Well, I can tell you it's not gonna help. Let's start there, right? The reality is it's not gonna help. But I can't say for certain how much that's going to affect you because every other factor is going to now just be a heightened version of all of those other risk factors, right? If you tell me that you have a very little time in business, a very poor credit score, and you're in a restricted industry, right? I can go out on a limb and tell you that you're going to have a hard time getting financing. But if you're in a great industry and you have great time in business and you make a lot of money, but you have a poor credit score, right? Those are two completely different scenarios. And this is what I want to make certain is clear today is you really have a full understanding that there's a variety of different reasons why people would borrow money, but there's very few reasons why they couldn't get access to money. if that makes any sense, right? So when you're really looking at it through the lens of the bank or lender, it can become very clear as to why they operate in black and white decision making. And that's what I hope to share today, is some of that insight, some of that information, some of the what's hot, what's not type of vibe as we go throughout the presentation. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to dump those into the Q&A, and I'll definitely make sure to get that information to you, um, and answer those questions, right? As you're talking about some of the trends that we're seeing, right? Obviously, AI is being used in every industry. Lending is no different. When it comes to the shifts that exist in commercial finance, I can tell you that this is again a moving target, right? Every time we do one of these types of webinars, it's fun to put together the content because there's so many different things to talk about. Right now, the biggest things to talk about is the increase in technology, the increase in accuracy, the increase in in certainty. I will also tell you it's led to a rise in fraudulent processes, right? So there's a lot more stops in place today to review those types of things, to go through with a fine tooth comb. And that's why you see the increase of AI. You see these digital only platforms popping up, or you see the transitions happening, is because if you can move more quickly and more efficiently and service a particular piece of the marketplace, that might be more efficient than some of the other options that are traditionally available, right? Where the traditional bank is trying to service all markets. They're trying to help in all scenarios, and that can make it very difficult to maneuver as things do change within the economy, and how industries have their ebbs and flows and ups and downs. So let's really get into it here. Let's talk a little bit about what's actually going on, and what are the products that people are taking advantage of right now. What are we seeing? How are we seeing it, right? I can certainly tell you that when it comes to the top products, right, there's not usually all that much change that goes on within the top products that exist. Commercial finance is um, a very interesting industry, in that it's been designed to really be the solution that a business owner needs, as long as they time things right. And this is going to be a key for today, and something that you really should try to put into some of your messaging, try to put into some of your if you market this type of service, put it into some of your marketing, or if you're talking to business owners and giving them advice and consulting with them on capital. The most important thing, if I'm being honest, is getting access to the right capital at the right time, right? Those two things, if you can do that for a business owner, you don't really know how dangerous they can be with that capital. That's on them. I have seen it where we have borrowers that have borrowed as little as $5,000 to $10,000 the first time they borrow from us, and now they borrow $1 million every 6 months. That's a true fact. The first loan was $5,000. Now they borrow $1 million every 6 months. Why? Because their business is cyclical, and when they need the capital, they know where they can go to get it. The best way that I could describe us is, we're like investors that are here when you need us and gone when you don't. But I'll get more into ROK. As far as these products go, these are tried and true, right? Term loans and revenue-based financing are basically the oldest form of finance, where you get access to a lump sum of capital right now within your business, and then have a set period to pay that back. But it allows you to take advantage of expansion, service working capital needs. The reality is it's probably the most widely used type of financing available today, right? I'll even go into that slide for a second, right? It's probably the most widely used type of financing today, and the reason for that is simply because it can help in so many different ways, right? Imagine being able to support a business when they're looking to invest. Imagine being able to support a business when they're looking to expand. Imagine being able to help businesses that have or that are between projects, excuse me, or they're having a cash flow crunch, and you can provide the thing that stabilizes their operation, right? Those are that's how businesses work, right? So this is a key product, or these are key products for sustaining business. These are key products for growing businesses. And I can't tell you how often this solution is being provided. It really does go hand in hand with our business line of credit. The real way that you structure the capital is the thing that makes these two products the most different, right? If you look at a term loan, it's going to be very predictable. It's probably one use of capital right now, or maybe a bulk uses of capital right now, but there's no follow-up need for the foreseeable future, right? But if you know that your business is cyclical, and or you work with businesses that are cyclical and they have ebbs and flows where sometimes there is a bit of a cash flow crunch, a business line of credit is the ultimate tool as a bridge resource for those businesses that need to have access to something that is what we refer to as non-dilutive, where it's not going to require them to give up any equity, but it does give them access to the flexibility of being able to access credit when needed, right? The beauty of a business line of credit is it works just like the business financing that you would imagine a business credit card working as, right? Whereas if you pay back part of that balance then becomes available to you again, right? So a business line of credit, a term loan, revenue-based financing, these are the most flexible forms of funding available to businesses. And if I'm being honest, flexibility is key in capital management for business owners these days. So these are the products that business owners are using most often. These are the products that we are seeing most business owners qualify for. So it really is a scenario where the numbers align with the want, and it also aligns with the way that businesses are using the capital. So we see these strategies being used all different industries, all different companies, all different types of opportunities that these businesses are coming across. Like, that's what makes it flexible. That's what I mean when I say flexible, right? If you look at an SBA loan, for example, they have a listed use of funds. Like, you have to specifically state how you use that capital. That's not a bank thing. That's not a lender thing. That's an SBA thing. So if you go get SBA loan from anywhere, that's something you're going to deal with. So I always like to point those types of things out so that everybody really has a good understanding of things. Now, equipment financing, right? This is where things get very interesting, because equipment financing is the ultimate tool that I believe most business owners don't know that they should already be using. Let me paint a picture for you. There's a variety of different types of capital out there. And what makes this capital unique is that when you structure it the right way, you can take continuous advantage of access to capital. What do I mean? Well, I mean this. If you own a fleet of trucks and in a transportation company, right? Let's say you own 20, 30 trucks. For you to buy 2, 3 trucks at a time might not be the biggest deal. But if you're somebody that's trying to scale to 20, 30 trucks, and you own 5, 8 trucks right now, and you want to get to 30, the chances of you getting there without financing are going to be very slim. Right now, how you structure that financing is going to say everything about how quickly you can access more, what that looks like in terms of your business credit and your business profile when looking to borrow additional capital. Also, when you get to those 30 trucks, are you going to need a building? Right? Are you going to need a property to park these trucks? Right? Like, most people don't think about the long-term effects in borrowing money. A lot of times they're pressuring that decision based on what's right in front of them. Equipment financing is one of those things that when you take a step back for a second, it makes a lot of sense for businesses. It allows them to preserve their cash flow, by structuring a deal that could be as long as 60, 72, or even 84 months. It really does allow them to segment that portion of capital, right? It creates a line item. This is very important when you're looking at this business holistically for funding in the future. What do I mean? I mean that if you get equipment financing today, you can still go get a line of credit. You can still go get a term loan, right? If you take a term loan today, go buy a piece of equipment with it, and then want to go get another term loan, that's going to be difficult, right? But what would make it much easier is if you were buying equipment today, you went out and got that equipment financed through equipment financing or an equipment lease. Then in 6 months or 12 months, whenever you needed access to more funding on a more flexible option like a term loan or a line, you could take advantage of it then, right? So when we talk about the capital stack, that's what we're talking about, is that a business is strategic about when they take the type of funding that they take. And equipment financing is one of those things that really, really plays into a business's ability to continue to borrow long term. A lot of businesses have common needs for equipment, right? Think technology, right? Technology is advancing at a rapid pace. I've been joking about my laptop lately that I can't believe it's actually, let's knock on wood for a second. I can't believe it's still going here. I mean, it's been a rough few weeks with my laptop. It's shut off every once in a while. I don't know. I don't even want to mess with it. I'm just going to try and get through the hour here. But no, the reality is technology, like I said, is great till it's not. The healthcare industry, they rely a ton on technology, on machinery, on if you go into a doctor's or dentist office, like think about all the equipment that you would see, right? Everything from the desks and chairs and computers to x-ray machines and monitors, and all that type of equipment is available to be financed through equipment financing or leasing. Manufacturing facilities, if they want to add a new product line, this is a great way to be able to do so, right? So I promise you, this is the type of financing that is the best kept secret. That this is the type of financing that in 2026 you got a lot of opportunity for. I promise you, businesses are going to borrow for financing for equipment. We recently changed our tax code. I don't know if you guys remember the big beautiful bill. Let me know in the chat. You guys remember all the hoopla over the big beautiful bill? If you know what I'm talking about in the chat, let me know. But one of the things that was put into the big beautiful bill, I don't know if everybody knows this, was section 179 of the tax code was actually made permanent. Did you guys know that? Did you know that, chat? You knew that? I hope so. If not, let me kick you a little knowledge for a second. What that means is businesses are able to write off 100% of the value of a piece of equipment. And not only are they able to do that, but we doubled the amount of equipment that they're able to do that with, right? So what does that do? It promotes more advancement within these businesses. It makes it more advantageous for businesses to purchase new equipment, right? Rather than sitting on an old piece of equipment, where the old system would actually benefit you to do that, right? It's a much different environment than it was even just a year ago. So I try to make sure that you guys really understand it's not anything more than playing the hand that's been given to us, right? Like that's what you should know. Like I'm not a highly political person. I know that politics and can be a nasty business, but what I do know is that it definitely plays a part of my business. I have been in this industry for 2 presidential cycles, and I can tell you the uncertainty of those presidential years, they're tough. Once we kind of know, and once they kind of get their policies in place, we can play the hand that's been dealt. Well, this is the hand that we've been dealt. We have bonus depreciation. We have things that are advantageous to borrowing money within businesses, and businesses know this, and they're able to take advantage of these things. So, again, equipment financing is commercial finance best kept secret. It's really an awesome product. If you want to chat more about it, I'm all about it. And then really asset-based finance and accounts receivable financing have become more and more regularly talked about products. Everything from inventory and purchase order financing to accounts receivable financing to factoring to asset-based lending, like these have become more regularly accessible types of financing, whereas these were very few and far between in the past. A lot of these products are extremely difficult to really understand how to leverage, right? Well, because of the information that we have available to us in 2026 and our ability to understand that information, more people are able to get access to this stuff. They're able to account for their businesses better and keep up with their books, and that allows us to help them leverage different types of financing. So these are all products that businesses are using to get access to strategic capital that allows them to, again, structure their capital stack in a way that makes the most sense. You have to understand, business owners are savvy people. They know that if you want them to borrow money and it's going to cost them all of their assets, it's going to really hinder that business's ability to borrow money long term. Now, if you are looking for a solution and that's the only one that you have, well, then you should take advantage of it, right? But if your business has accounts receivable, it's looking to purchase equipment, it's got inventory, it has all these different things, then why not take the financing out in the areas where you could use it? If you want more inventory, then go get an inventory line, right? If you have more purchase orders than you did last year at this time, let's get you some purchase order financing, right? Like there is certain ways that we can leverage this to really assisting businesses in a true advisory role. And that's not just for us at ROK, it's for all of you that are on the call as well. You should know what's available within the marketplace, even if you specialize in one of these areas, right? You should know how businesses, especially the ones you work with, are working with these other products, and then you'll be able to educate the borrowers that you come across and the businesses that you come across. Our jobs are that of commercial finance advisors, right? And that's the only way that you're going to sustain in this industry, if I'm being honest. It's certainly a stick and move type of industry. I have seen it change overnight. I have seen it. Trust me. When COVID hit, this business changed overnight. All of the banks stopped lending. Okay, banks stopped lending. Then it was okay. The government's giving out free money, so everybody got into that. That became craziness. Then it was okay. There's some banks and lenders testing some things. Then it was okay. A lot of people are testing some things, and I'm telling you, like you got to be able to roll with the punches. And the easiest way to do that is keep your ear to the ground, see what others are doing, see how business owners are reacting to that, and then ultimately continue to provide great service for what you do. That's the ultimate recipe for success. Here's the thing that I want to make sure that businesses avoid in 2026. And this is going to go against everything that YouTube is talking about right now. I am the most micro influencer out there. I'll be the first person to say it, but I'm all over social media. I see what everybody's talking about. I see how they position things. And if I'm being honest, one of the things that a lot of people push people into, it is startup financing. And it's the one piece of advice that I would tell business owners or potential business owners when you're talking to somebody that's just starting the journey is try to do it as bootstrapped as you possibly can before needing financing, because the reality is the longer you can wait, the more credit worthy you become. I'm going to say that again. The longer you wait, the more credit worthy you become. And that's not just a ROK Financial thing. Go to your local bank about financing for your business. And I promise you, if you have a business that has longer than 5 years time in business, they are going to look at that much differently than a business that has less than 5 months in business, right? If there's no real business opportunity, if there's no real proof of concept, right? This is what banks and lenders are looking for. They are looking for the sure thing. We talked about risk earlier. Banks and lenders are looking for the sure thing. If you are somebody that's going to take out startup financing, here's some things that you should know about the startup financing world. Is that is personal finance. Most people don't tell you this. It 99 times out of 100 requires a personal guarantee. It might not be you that takes that personal guarantee. A lot of times they'll tell you, oh, go get a credit partner and apply with them. And yeah, then they're taking the personal guarantee. The reality is I'm not trying to totally shoot down startup financing, as nobody should ever do it. But you should be very, very careful about how much money you take and what your ability is to pay that back if your business doesn't work. Right? The reality is that is what makes business lending attractive. Is once you have a business that does have proof of concept, that can afford to take on a payment, right? That's all that banks and lenders are looking for these days. I mean, there's some people out there that'll give you a loan with as little as 60 days in business. It's not this crazy process that I'm talking about. But once you have a little bit of proof of concept and a little bit of proof that you can show that you can make some money, well, I'm telling you right now, there's people out there that will help you get access to the funding. The reality is if you don't do that though, then how do you mitigate their risk? Right? Well, they're going to look at your personal revenue. They're going to look at your job and how much money you make. They're going to look at how long you've been there. And then if you're planning on leaving that job and, starting up a business that you've got no experience in, like, that's not the story that they want to hear. You want to know the startup financing that works, guys? I'm going to tell you the startup financing that works is when somebody wants to pass their business off to the next generation of their family, right? And that person has never owned a business before, but they've been around the business their entire life, right? It's the manager or the GM or the key employee that is buying out one of these baby boomer businesses, right? We see this one all the time, especially in the trades. Think like HVAC, electrical, plumbing and heating. Any specialized construction or even general contracting. We see this a lot where, somebody who runs the crew or basically runs the day to day is going to buy the business from the owner who's kind of phased out over the past few years, right? Those scenarios make it much easier to get access to funding. You have proof of concept. You're getting an existing business that works. I can help you with that scenario. ROK, we can help with that. If you're getting equipment for a business that has proof of concept, right? So you want to start a franchise, and that franchise qualifies has equipment that you're looking for. You could potentially qualify for equipment financing for that type of business. But if your business is going to be built on other people giving you money to grow that business, you should get used to splitting the equity real quick. Because that's the only model in that scenario that I've seen that really does work and scale. A lot of this startup stuff, if I'm being honest, is nothing but clickbait. And I'm sorry to say it. Like, I hope, Emily, what can we do? Do we spend money on ads? Like, I hope the influencers that are out there see this message, because the reality is you're making it really difficult for those businesses who in potentially 6 months could have gotten access to a term loan or a line of credit that would have helped jumpstart that business and taken them from 10,000 to 100K or $1 million a month. Like, we see it all the time. They come in, now their credit's beat up because they took on personal finance. Their business never really got going. Like, it's sad, if I'm being honest. Like, this is a scenario where, like, if you asked me what I would tell them, I would tell you the best thing that they can do is go meet the SBDC. You guys know what the SBDC is? Let me know in the chat if you know what the SBDC is. It's the Small Business Development Centers. They exist all over the country. If not, just know that they are a free resource. They are a free resource that allows business owners to become fundable. That's their goal. Did you guys know that the SBDC's goal is to create fundable businesses? Like, to me, you look like a hero in that scenario. You just predicted the thing that you just gave them the thing that they were looking for. Wait, I could have free access. That's SBDC. I'll put it in the chat right now. Small Business Development Center, SBDC. And I'll be honest, they are not the most well-known thing. If I'm being honest, a lot of you guys said yes, so I'm genuinely impressed. But if I'm being honest, like, they're not the most well-known thing or resource available to business owners, and I truly think that they should be, if I'm being honest. But the reality is if I had a startup and I was looking to give them some sound advice, I would really, really encourage them to try to get going over get going and really try to figure it out without needing to take on too much capital too quickly. But I would also share this secret that I've learned along the way of the SBDCs. And if I'm being honest, I went to a college that had an SBDC in our business building. I spent longer than I want to admit getting my degree, and I didn't even know that it existed. I was a finance student that went to the business school. Like, you would think that at some point I would have been told about this resource or been educated that this thing exists. Nope. We are giving away this information. We just can't seem to get it in the hands of those that need to know about it. So if you want and you want me to help put you on to your local SBDC, feel free to reach out to me. We have a great connection with America's SBDC, which is kind of like the national platform, but each state has their own way that they kind of run things. At least that's what I understand. If you are from the SBDC, feel free to jump in the chat and correct me. I hope we have a couple of directors or consultants on with us. That would be awesome. But no, the reality is they're an awesome resource. It really is a true opportunity for business owners to connect with somebody who can get them access to information, who can show them the right way to do things. Because if you're somebody like me, you'd love to do that for them, but the reality is there's only so much time in a day, right? So if I spend time giving this hand holding to somebody that doesn't qualify for the types of funding that we offer, then I can't go and give out more capital to the people who do qualify, right? So again, I'm all about giving them access to the resources that they need when they need it. So definitely check that one out. Again, especially if you're not too familiar, they're in every state, they're all around. But again, it's really going to be about for you, being able to develop relationships with these borrowers and having a long-term approach to your mindset. Let's get into some other things, right? Let's get through this presentation. I told you this was a little longer than some of the others, right? The right funding, right? I said this before. It really comes down to the right capital at the right time, and you really need to understand that strategy matters just as much, if not more, than access, right? If I gave you the money, what would you do with it, right? Would you be on DoorDash? Would it be on your FanDuel? Right. Would it, it's tough to say, right? Or would you actually spend it in your business? And do you have a plan for that? And do you know how much you would keep so that if something doesn't go right, you have a buffer even after that, right? Like, that's what I mean when I say strategic capital, right? Is really having that strategy behind how you're going to deploy it, so that there's no poorly timed funding. There's no structure that's going to limit when you can get access to financing in the future, or the types of financing that you can get access in the future. It really does help you stay ahead of the curve, if I'm being honest. And again, if you're somebody that doesn't know this stuff, feel free to work with ROK more closely. We're very happy to align with you on that, right? It does come down with matching the right funding to the right business, if I'm being honest. right? So these are the things that we really discuss with borrowers, is how they can structure the capital so that when they do get access to it, it's exactly what they're looking for and what they needed to borrow the money for. I use the inventory line example again, right? If you're looking to, increase your production and you need more inventory, well, then an inventory line probably means, probably makes a lot of sense. And same thing with a lot of the other forms of funding. A lot of them can become self-explanatory once you put pen to paper and you really kind of sound out the noise and ultimately just look at this thing black and white. So it really does, help them help themselves once you have an access to the information. So this is what we're looking for. This is what we're looking at, right? And if you want to keep competitive, this is how ROK can help you do so, right? The reality is, it's all about speed and efficiency in 2026. It's all about security and trust. It's all about being able to stay tailored and use the data for your business owner customers. But if I'm being honest, it really is all about that consultative approach, being able to deliver where they need you and when they need you. Right? Like I said earlier, we're like investors that are here when you need us and gone when you don't. And that's really the ultimate measure of ROK, right? So why join the other 25,000 affiliates? If you're new, this is for you. Some of you guys that aren't new might know about this, but our biggest support system, ways that we support you guys within the system, excuse me, are in a few different forms. That's marketing, sales, tech, and realistically any other operational portion of the business. We've got a lot of experience in marketing this product and services, in selling, in the tech that goes into it, and we're going to give you access to it all. I can't go into that. That's a webinar and a half in itself. But just know that whether you feel like you need support in any one of these categories, any mixture of these categories, or all three of these categories, you're in the right place. It's very simple to work with us, and I think this is why so many people have chosen to work with us, is the simplicity. You simply sit back and relax while we work the entire transaction for you. The only thing that you are required, excuse me, to provide is simply a name and a number for the business owners within your network that are looking for funding. If you can do that, I promise you we're going to do all the heavy lifting. We'll help them understand their options, pick the best one, get access to the funding, and get everybody back to work and get you guys paid as seamlessly and as quickly as possible. I've seen us in the past 6 months do deals as little as $5,000 to $10,000 and as big as $5 to $10 million unsecured. So it really is a scenario where we are here to help you leverage exactly what it is that we've built. So definitely excited to have those of you that might be new, and would love to rock out with you if you are new. One of the pieces of technology I am going to point out is our partner portal, which is direct access to our Salesforce CRM, where you can plug and play as basically business in a box. If I'm being honest, you get access to landing pages. You can choose whether you want a ROK branded, co-branded, or even a white labeled experience for all of your customers. You get access to marketing materials, sales materials, all different information that allows you to really partner with us in a way that makes sense for yourself. And that's the beauty of it, right? Is I would tell you we have 25,000 unique partnerships, and that's what makes us great. Is we're really going to deliver on what it is that makes sense for you and the businesses that you work with. So rock out with us, use the portal. It's all about transparency, visibility, access, and keeping businesses moving as quickly and efficiently as possible. If you are new, feel free to scan the QR code on your screen, or drop "Let's Rock" into the chat right now. We'll get you going, because I know some of you might have joined on your phone, so you might not be able to scan the QR code. So if you want, drop "Let's Rock" in the chat right now. We'll get the team to reach out to you. Otherwise, if you can, scan the QR code, and you can literally self onboard yourself right into the portal and get access to some training and members of the team will be reaching out to you shortly. So definitely excited to have you guys on that are newbies. Definitely excited to chat with you guys a little bit more intimately here in a second. I don't think there's all that many slides left. If you want to just reach out to us, feel free to do so. Would love to get a chance to chat with as many of you guys as possible. So feel free to reach out and let them know that you heard about us through the webinar. And make sure you stay tuned for our February webinar. We'll be dropping some info on that as we wrap up today's webinar and get you guys out the recording of this. I didn't get a chance to do this before, but shout out to all of our partners for ROK having the best year we've ever had. 2025 was the best year we ever had. We did over $200 million in new loans through partners last year. So shout out to you guys. We're super excited for another rock star year here in 2026. And I can tell you, people are already rocking and rolling. We have a lot of partners working a lot of deals, making a lot of money, completing a lot of transactions. So if you're not already, jump on board. And if you are, I look forward to getting a chance to chat with you and work with you soon. And until next webinar, keep rocking, everybody. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much for joining.